Hey guys, Sleepy here, and welcome to a brand new episode of my weekly gaming playlist series. We made it to another Friday, so it's time for us to do a recap and chat and discuss about the games I played this week. Would love to hear your thoughts, so if you've played any of the games I shared with you today, let me know what you thought of them. I always enjoy hearing about games you guys are playing, because that gives me ideas of games that I might want to pick up and check out myself. And if you guys have recommendation on the game you think I might enjoy playing, let me know. Always looking for new games to play and experience. Last week, I just did not have a whole lot of time for gaming. I did play a little bit of games, but I was just really busy with work and doing stuff with family and stuff, so I didn't have time to film an episode. But this week I had some more time, so I was actually able to continue playing the game I started that last week and was playing it this week. And so I got a new one to share with you guys. Now, this was actually a recommendation from my good buddy here on Facebook, Carl. You guys might know him as Let's Collect Video Games. Really cool dude, good channel. Make sure you guys check him out. He talked about playing this game a few years ago, and it sounded really interesting, so I picked it up, but I had never got around to playing it, and so I wanted to try something new, saw this on the shelf, and decided to check it out. And this is an Xbox One and a Series X game, and that is a game called Scars Above. This is a really fun third-person adventure shooter that has Souls-like elements to it, where when your character dies, you respawn at a pillar, and all the enemies you killed will respawn as well. So, and that's also where you can save your progress, is at these pillars. And this is a story-based game, and it's not an open world game. It's very linear. You're going from one point A to point B, going through the story, and it is broke up into 6 chapters. There is a prologue you start off with, and then the game breaks up through the chapters. You have a huge variety of enemies to fight. You also have a variety of bosses to battle as well, which is cool. And overall, it just was a really fun and great experience. So I'll read you guys from the back. Some things were not meant to be discovered. A colossal and enigmatic alien structure appears in Earth's orbit, stunning the entire world. Humanity names it the Metahedron. The Sentient Contact Assessment and Response Team, SCAR, consisting of a scientist and astronauts, is sent to investigate. So you guys are in a ship, and they send you guys to investigate what this alien object is. Things don't go as planned as the Metahedron hauls the team across space onto a mysterious extrasolar planet. Step into the boots of Dr. Kate Ward, a SCAR member who wakes up dazed, alone in a strange, hostile environment. Determined to survive, you set out to find your teammates and unravel the mystery behind what's happened. Survive against all odds. Fight tactically using a combination of elemental attacks, gadgets, and items. Exploit the environment and enemy weaknesses. Explore a mysterious exoplanet. Explore an alien world filled with countless threats. Gorgeous landscapes, ruins, hinting of an ancient yet advanced civilization that somehow disappeared. Embark on a research expedition, conduct scientific research, and extrapolate information, slowly unraveling the mystery of the planet. Use the knowledge gained to craft new weapons and unlock abilities. So there are RPG elements because you do level up Kate. And so basically at the very beginning of the story, you guys are going to this Metahedron in your ship. It gets pulled in, and next thing you know, your character wakes up on this alien planet. You don't know where your team is. You don't know how you got there, what's going on, how long it's been. And so that's where the story takes place. Now, you guys know I don't want to ruin anything when it comes to story. The whole idea of playing these games is to unravel the story, and it had a really good story. So let's check out Scars Above. Alright guys, today we're checking out Scars Above. Now, this is an interesting third-person action adventure shooter, sci-fi setting, which is really cool. And it has Souls-like elements to it, where like in a Dark Souls game, there are these pillars that you activate. And whenever you activate one, it'll make all the enemies respawn in the area. And that's also where you'll respawn if your character dies. And of course, the consequence, like in the Souls games, when you die, all the enemies will respawn with it. But it'll also refill your healing items and your ammo for your weapons and stuff, because you have a very limited amount of that stuff. And it's all about, surviving and exploring and going through the story. Now, what's great is this is a linear game, so you're going from the point A to B, going through the story and stuff and investigating. And I like that it's a shorter game. You can beat this in like 8 to 10, 11 hours, just depending on the difficulty you're playing on. There's 3 difficulty settings. I'm playing it just on the easiest difficulty setting, and even that I'm finding a little bit challenging, so I recommend either the normal or the easy. Save the hardest difficulty if you want to replay the game and you already know what you're doing and stuff. But as you play through the game, you unlock more abilities and learn more about the story. I've got about 2 hours in so far, so let's check it out. Does look pretty good here on my Series X. Now, of course, this is a AA game, not a AAA game, so, they didn't have the biggest budget, obviously, for the game. The character models look decent. I did notice in some of the cutscenes that the lip syncing seemed a little off for the characters' mouths, but, it's not the biggest deal. But overall, I think the game looks pretty good, and it is fun. Loads pretty quickly. I think the graphics in the actual game look pretty good then compared to the cutscenes. Foliage looks really good. The lighting and everything looks pretty decent. So they did a really good job with the most of the game. Other than the cutscenes, which, who really gives a shit about the cutscenes? That one's going to be the highest quality, just as they're helping you progress through the story. So you have your inventory here, keeps track of all the stuff that you find. Your ammo abilities, because there's different kinds of weapons that take different kinds of ammo. Your log. This keeps track of the tutorials you have here. You also can keep track of environment stuff that you find. The different enemies, which so far I've just got 3 different kinds, but there are a variety of enemies, and they all have their own strengths and weaknesses that you have to learn to exploit. There's different logs and recordings you can find from Kate, which is the doctor that you play as, and her crew, as you're trying to find out what happened to her crew. And then you have her little journal here as you're playing through that has to do with the story. And then you have abilities for her to unlock. There's the engineering, and then there's xenobiology. And you earn these ability points by finding knowledge cubes spread out throughout the maps of the different levels, which the game is broke up into different chapters. I'm currently on chapter 1. And I've unlocked 1 ability so far, so I have this running on fumes. So when a weapon runs out of ammo, 20% of the clip will replenish after 5 seconds. So there's a variety of things like you can increase your health, ammo, damage and stuff, different things like that. So there are some cool RPG elements to the game as well. So I'll show you guys some of the combat. You do have a melee weapon, so you can do some melee combat, but you also have guns. Right now I've got 2, and you got the weapon wheel. And different enemies are stronger or weaker to different kinds of ammo types, and you'll tell by the different colors. Sometimes an enemy will have an icon above their head, which will let you know that they're weak to a certain weapon and can be resistant to another weapon. So sometimes you gotta mix it up. And this is one of the ammo types that I can find for my electric weapon here. This little extract here. One of the enemies. He's got a little blue icon above him, lets you know that he's weak to electricity. Some of the enemies do have like acid attacks, like those scorpion guys can spit acid at you, and it'll raise up your toxicity, which will then start damaging you until the effect goes away. So you got to be careful not to get it built up too much. And enemies can sometimes just spawn out of the ground. And you can also use the environment. You also have a stamina meter below your health bar, and as you're swinging your weapon, you can see that I'm losing stamina. If I run out of stamina, I can no longer attack until it regenerates. So you got to be aware of that when you're fighting a variety of enemies. Sometimes you might want to run. And as you kill enemies, sometimes they will drop useful items. You can also craft weapons in this game, which is pretty cool. So there's different crafting ability. But you're also a scientist, and so you're also exploring the environment as you play through the game. You know, you'll have to sometimes uncover secrets. There's puzzles to solve. And it really pays, you know, to explore the environment. I have a little guide that I'm using that's not like a traditional strategy guide. It's just a guide online that I found online that tells you about certain things so you don't miss anything, because you can miss stuff. Like there's collectible logs, you might miss collectible items, talks about certain enemies for you to find, things like that. So I recommend using that. I'll have a link to the one that I've been using, as it just helps me so I don't miss anything, because that's what I hate in these games, is missing something that I could have found, and that's what I really like strategy guides. It's something I miss about within modern gaming, is you rarely get a strategy guide nowadays. You're lucky if you maybe 1 out of 1,000 games has a strategy guide. Occasionally you'll see one, but it's something I really miss. I always loved strategy guides because it's a way that helps you fully explore a game without missing anything. You can also unlock shortcuts at a time, like I just unlocked this gate. There's a shortcut back to here to this pillar, because I had to fight my way all the way around through enemies to get to this area. So whenever you can unlock a shortcut, very important you do, as that gets you an extra shortcut back to the pillar, so if you die, you don't have to go through all those enemies again to get back to the area you are. And I'm actually just encountered a new enemy over here that's a much stronger enemy than I've ever fought before, and you have to look for weak points on the enemy. I know there's also boss battles as well, which is pretty cool, so I'm looking forward to getting to those. But definitely, this game is definitely not easy, so there's some difficulty here. And this is an enemy that just actually killed me, so I got back to fight him. He has some weak points on his body, and this tells you about it here, the little weak points. You gotta look on their body. If it's blue, you use the electric weapon. If it's red, it uses the fire element, so you gotta use the fire gun. So this one here.
Oh my god! That was brutal. The aggressiveness of these creatures goes beyond typical territorial behavior. Is something causing such hostility? Log entry. This creature is covered with a protective layer consisting of sedimentary rock from the surrounding area. Its exposed heart is filled with highly flammable bodily fluid.
So since she's a scientist, she will analyze the creatures. So here we go, this new exo creature. Pretty neat. But I like that it gives you an actual character model that moves around, so it's pretty neat. So I just discovered my 4th enemy type now. And then here's keeps track of all the turrets. So if you ever forget something, you're not sure what to do, you forget how to do a certain task or how to do something, I love that they have all these little tutorials for you here that you can easily reference. And then you can also hear little logs and stuff as well. And then she gives you information about it. Like here's telling you about what a knowledge cube is.
Log entry. I found a strange alien cube. It's emitting neural waves. This means it has the potential to send information directly to the brain.
So, pretty cool. I use one of my healing things, which I'm very limited on the healing, so be aware of that. Also, Dr. Kate is a scientist, so she's not like a super soldier. She's not been trained in combat and stuff, so it makes her kind of clunky with it, because the combat can be a little clunky. I heard people complaining about it, but it makes sense when you're playing as a character who is not like a super soldier. You know, you're not playing the Master Chief or Marcus Phoenix or someone like that. You know, you're playing your average person and human. How would they fare in this kind of world? So I kind of like playing characters like that, where they're flawed and they're human and they're not just always super soldiers, because it makes it for a unique experience. One of those big dudes there. So always explore your environment and look for refills for your ammunition and items as well. You know, you don't want to just rush through an area. You know, want to take your time and explore so that you don't miss anything. And you do have the ability to dodge, which is definitely useful in fights, but sometimes it's kind of clunky. So, just wanted to give you guys a little look at the game. I think it's really interesting. I highly recommend checking it out. If you're a fan of third-person shooters, an adventure game, and you're looking for something that's linear, it's not open world, you're not going to be spending 500 hours playing through this game with 15 different endings, anything like that, and there's no DLC or anything, but it's just a really fun story that you're going through and exploring, and so far, I'm really enjoying myself, and I think you guys would enjoy it as well. And it's a fairly cheap game. It's like $30 digitally. You can get it physically for like $20. And occasionally, I've seen it on sale as low as like $3 or $4, $5, $6, $7, $10. There's always sales going on. So if you never played Scars Above, I recommend you check it out. All right, friends. I hope you enjoyed that look at Scars Above. I actually beat this game this week. It took me a little over 14 hours. You can beat the game between like 7 and 14 hours depending on the difficulty setting you choose. There are 3 difficulty settings. There's like an easy, a normal, and a hard. I actually just played it on the easy mode, but you can adjust the difficulty at any time because the game does start out pretty difficult, but as you progress through the game, you start unlocking abilities and you learn how to play the game and how to exploit the monsters' weaknesses and proper dodging and the proper weapons to use. The game does become easier, and you may want to turn up the difficulty. I really enjoyed the boss fights because they really feel like old school classic boss battles in games where you got to recognize boss patterns, you got to learn for where their weaknesses are, and use that to your advantage. And sometimes they have different phases to them, and I just really enjoyed the game. The graphics look amazing. The music is fantastic. Awesome visuals. Voice acting, is good. The only thing that was kind of subpar is in the cutscenes, the facial animations don't look the greatest, but this is a AA game, not a AAA game. But I think this team did a fantastic job with this game. I really enjoyed it. I beat it 100%. I unlocked all the achievements. There was a guide that I followed, so I didn't miss where the collectible cubes are. There's these little knowledge cubes, and that's actually how you get XP. And you also get it from scanning enemies and stuff when you first kill them. But it was just a really enjoyable experience, and you can level your character up. Now, what's cool is by the time I got to the final chapter, chapter 6, towards the beginning, it actually 100% unlocked all the RPG elements. So I unlocked all her upgrades for the character, and that made the game that much easier. There's also 6 weapons in total. 4 of them you need, 2 of them are optional. So it really pays to explore, take your time, not rush through, because you can miss stuff. You can't always go back to areas to get things you might have missed. And once you jump from one chapter to the next, you can't go back to that chapter. Now, there's a couple times towards the end of the game where you actually will revisit a few areas. So if you actually miss something, you would be able to reacquire that stuff, but you don't go back to every single area. So I recommend following the guide. I'll have a link. I'll post a link in the comment for you guys of the 2 different guides that I used. But overall, it was just a really fun experience. I really enjoyed this third-person shooter adventure with the Souls-like elements. It's not as difficult, obviously, as a Souls game is, but it was just really enjoyable, and I think you guys should definitely check out. It's not very expensive. I've seen it on sale on the marketplace for like $5 before, so you can get it fairly cheap. But it's definitely worth checking out. So let me know, have you guys checked out Scars Above? It's a really cool sci-fi game. I'd love to hear about the games you guys have been playing lately, and if you guys have a recommendation on a game you think I might enjoy playing, let me know. I'm always looking for new games to play and experience. I want to thank you guys for watching. Take care. You guys have an absolute amazing day, and Sleepy will see you next time.